A very good morning to you all, and thank you for joining us bright and early on this Wednesday for our clusters talks. This morning we're talking about green transition and looking at the support that's there to help improve energy and resource efficiency in EU businesses, how the cluster collaboration platform can help with that, and all those different tools, materials, and frameworks that are out there to help us drive the way towards the green transition. It's obviously a key aim of the European Commission. We've heard all about the twin transitions, and of course, one half of those twins is green. It's all about sustainability, the circular economy, and how we can go on that journey towards climate neutral for a greener, cleaner, more environmentally aware European Union. So, as always, let's have a quick look at the housekeeping rules for today's session. We have a very packed agenda for you this morning. We'll start with, as always, news from Nina telling us what's happening. We'll then get a double presentation from the colleagues at DG Environment to tell us about the tools that are available for SMEs to adopt sustainable business models under the Circular Economy Action Plan. We'll then move on to hearing about green transition support before going to our panel debate. As always with the panel debate, we would love you to get involved, so feel free to do that. And we will wrap up, as always, with the funding opportunities. Now, if you do want to join in the discussion, you can raise your hand. You can also use the various functions. Unusually this morning, we're not going to use Slido because we have got such a packed session, but you can use the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen to ask questions. Use the chat function to say hello, tell us where you are. We'll also be using that to share links and different pieces of information as we go through our talk. So if there's additional information you want, check the chat and you may see it there. The session is, as always, being recorded and will be available shortly afterwards on the European Cluster Collaboration platform. So if you miss something, you can always go back and have a look at it again. With that, I will hand over to Nina for the news. Nina, what's happening?
Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, everybody. A lot is happening, and I think there are a lot of opportunities available for clusters at the moment. So very interesting open calls. For example, the one to participate in the Cluster Booster Academy, which is our annual event designed for up to 50 participants to enhance your skills together with other cluster managers or cluster practitioners in a 3-day online training session, which will take place at the end of January next year, and a 2-day in-person training sessions mid-March, which will be hosted by the Automotive Cluster in Sofia in Bulgaria. So you're very much welcome to register. Registration is still open now in December as well. So please register to come together at the Cluster Booster Academy. Another call that is open is the one to host the Clusters Meet Regions events. We have been hosting these events for the past 2 years, and we're looking at the role of clusters in the regional economies as drivers of the economic transition, and to see how they create the collaboration with regional stakeholders for the industrial development of their regions. And if you're interested in attending one, we have one upcoming in Krakow in Poland on the 11th and 12th of December. So register for this and come to our Clusters Meet Regions and have a look at the white book of the open call to see how you can get involved if you would like to host and bring a Clusters Meet Regions to your region. And we also invite you to give us feedback on our EU cluster talks that we have been having these Wednesday mornings, and to give us your ideas on topic ideas that you would like to discuss next year. So we are currently planning and we would really like to hear from you. What is it you would like to discuss in the upcoming cluster talks, and how the content that we are bringing to you with the cluster talks is helping you in your work. So many thanks for filling this out. This is still open. So click on the link. Maybe after today's session, you can give us 5 minutes to fill this out. And with that, back to you and to our topic of the day.
Thank you very much, Nina. Yes, I very much look forward to hearing people's ideas for some great things to discuss on our Wednesday morning talks. But today, as we've said, it's all about green. So it's going to be talking now from the colleagues from DG Environment. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us. We're going to hear about the Circular Economy Action Plan and tools for SMEs. So please, Sarian Tikanen and Mirabella Lopescu, please, it's over to you. We look forward to hearing all about that.
Thank you, Jennifer, and good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to start this morning with you with my favorite topic, circular economy, and how it can promote the green transition. So I will tell you about the Circular Economy Action Plan and some tools of it for the SMEs, especially. The next one. The Circular Economy Action Plan, it was adopted in 2020, and the title is For a Cleaner and More Competitive Europe. And we need to keep in mind the main aims of it. It is to decrease the environmental footprint of our consumption and production, and to double the circular material use rate in the coming decades. So we really try to do with this action plan to change the way how we produce and consume. There is 3 focus areas: a sustainable product policy framework, then we have key value chains, and less waste, more value, so the waste management actions. And there is, altogether, there is 35 actions in this action plan. Next. And the idea is to address the actions to the key value chains, so to have the most biggest impact. And these are chosen because of their critical, because they are critical in their use of natural resources, and also because there is a huge potential to more circular practices in these sectors. So they are electronics, batteries and vehicles, packaging, plastics, textiles and furniture, construction and buildings, and also food, water and nutrients. Next one. And here you see all our 35 actions, which nearly all have already adopted. There is still one upcoming. It is the Integrated Nutrient Management Action Plan. Of course, these all are not yet entered into force, but we are preparing and negotiating on them so that they are in the process. And it's really a huge package which we had delivered during this mandate. And there is many legislative proposals, revision of the existing directives, and new actions. And they are focused on the key value chains, and also some of these are more for the companies and some are more for the consumers, to empower them for the green transition and to enable them to make more sustainable and circular decisions. I don't go through all these now because there is no time, but you can find all these from our web pages, and there is also more information and related links for them in our web pages. Now the next one. I will tell you about 2 of these actions. One is this eco-design for sustainable products regulation, which is, I think, which will change very much our way of design and manufacture the products we make here in the EU, and also those products we import here. The main aim is to make the sustainable and circular products the new norm in the EU market by 2030 by extending the existing eco-design directive. So it will be extended beyond the energy-related products to a wide products code. So nearly all of the products will be under this regulation, except the food and feed and some other products. There will be new requirements, product-specific requirements, and then there will also be the clarification of existing requirements. So the requirements are mostly on the durability, repairability, and recyclability of the product, and also the resource use, and if there is need for recycled content, and all which is related to the circularity and sustainability of the products. And the main aim is to reduce the environmental footprint. And there is also horizontal approach in this. There is a framework regulation, and then these delegated acts for the product-specific issues. And then there is an increased focus on the product information. One very important issue is this digital product passport. So it will really much help and enable to circulate the relevant information and reliable information on the products from business to business and also from business to consumers. And the reason why we have this eco-design is that up to 80% of the product's environmental impacts, they are determined at the design phase. So if we want to have the circularity and sustainability in the entire value chain of products, we need to tackle first in the design phase. So it will change the way how also in the end of their lifetime we can recycle the products. Now the next one, please. And then we have also the EU strategy for sustainable and circular textiles. And this, the main aim is to make the fast fashion out of fashion and to reduce the environmental footprint. So these actions are focused on the entire life cycle of the textile products, and they address to the design, manufacturing, and consuming way. So there will be new design requirements under this eco-design for sustainable products regulation. And also the digital product passport will be one of the important tools to promote this. And then we are also tackling the greenwashing, and there will be the extended producer responsibility for textiles. And also there is a transition pathway for the textile ecosystem to enable and boost the green transition. Now the next one. And here, well, the SMEs are the backbone of the European economy, and that's why we need you to make real the green transition. And there is also many benefits from the circular practices to the SMEs. For example, innovative new circular business models as product as service and on-demand manufacturing. And then we think that the SMEs are very good in promoting green transition because they are flexible and able to adapt more quickly to the new requirements. And there is also access to finance opportunities related to green transition. So these new business models and opportunities and new markets, there is also a lot of consumer demand for more sustainable and circular products. The next one. So it's not only beneficial, circular economy is not only beneficial for the SMEs and companies, but also for citizens and consumers. So according to the Eurobarometer, most of the consumers want to make the decision according to the environmental impact. And there is now some companies have misleading environmental claims or WAC, and we need to change that way. And then that's why we have also the Green Claims Directive. So thank you from my side.
Thanks, Ariane. And this makes a very good transition for me from this legislative and policy framework of circular economy, where indeed it's really important to lead this green transition. But the next question is how to really integrate environmental consideration into corporate day-to-day management. And I will present to you today the Eco Management and Audit Scheme. That is a voluntary environmental management scheme backed by an EU regulation since the 90s. The Eco Management and Audit Scheme, it's really a tool that help an organization and an SME as well to optimize their production process, reduce their environmental impacts, and make more effective use of resources. It does so by really going through an assessment of the organization impact, both direct and indirect them, understanding how it is possible to reduce them and set voluntary targets, which are then published in the EU register. It is a scheme which is also managed by the European Commission and the member states, which gives additional credibility and accountability. Next slide, please. you can see here that a lot of organizations are already registered to EMAs all over the 27 EU member states. And this is so in different sectors, from waste, energy, construction, and education. And there are some member states where indeed, like Germany, Italy, or Spain, where EMAs is adopted by more than 1,000 organizations each. Next slide, please. Now, how is EMAS different from other tools? You might be acquainted with other environmental management system approaches or with ISO standards, but EMAS, in addition to that, actually has not only this feature of integrated environmental aspects into your core corporate management, but also leads to the environmental policy making it public in the annual environmental statement published in the EMAS register. In addition to that, all data and measures are validated by independent environmental verifiers, which makes it actually to be de facto already compliant with the upcoming Green Claim Directive that Sarian mentioned. And also it also quantifies all the action implemented in core indicators, which are required by the regulation on all 6 environmental aspects, from measuring CO2 emissions, energy, waste, water, material efficiency, or biodiversity. Next slide, please. As you can see, this is a tool that can be used for organization both from public but also from private sector. And if you can see on the left side of this slide, most of the EMAS registered organization already are SMEs. 70% of our registered companies have less than 250 employees. And another important thing to know is that organizations with sites worldwide can register to EMAS. We already have sites registered in South Korea, Uruguay, or China, etc. Next slide, please. I would like to go through some of the benefits of adopting EMAS. It's really a tool which will help companies to make the transition embedded in their day-to-day practice. That we have studies which show that with time, the company enables to have energy and resource savings, reduce operating costs, and lead to improved competitiveness, but also, and because there is indeed quite of an expectation from the market to show these sustainable practices, there are expanded market opportunities. It's a way to win new markets and showcase your environmental corporate policy, because you have this publicly available environmental statement, which is very solid and is third-party verified. But EMAS goes also beyond mere environmental requirements and aspects, because the regulation also requires from the organization that adopt EMAS to have an assessment of their relations with other stakeholders, and also a strong element of employee involvement. Last but not least, EMAS, a lot of member states and regions provide regulatory relief. We have a compendium of all the EMAS incentives, which really summarizes the over 200 incentives that are provided on different levels, and you can find this on the EMAS website. Next slide, please. Last slide, because I don't want to be too long, but just to say that the regulation is also modulated to provide advantages and take into account the size of the organization to be able to join the scheme. So you have more generous timelines for verification, audit, and publication, which are already in the regulation. But also in terms of costs and fees, there is a modulation which is made possible but by each EMAS competent body in every member state. So their registration fees are proportionate to the size of the organization. And with this, next slide, please. I would like just to end with giving you some contacts if you are interested in joining the scheme. As I said, national competent bodies operate in the 27 EU member states, and you have their contacts on our website, but you can also contact the EMAS help desk where you have the email and the telephone number here. Thank you very much, and available if you have further questions.
Thank you very much as well, Mirabella. I don't see any questions in the Q&A at the moment, although I note in the chat that people are interested in finding out more about the Critical Raw Materials Act and how that will impact SMEs. But I will also add that I know that we can probably contact details for you in the chat as well. So thank you very much for that. We will transition to the green transition support. Yanis Lambert, who is joining us this morning, is going to tell us all about that. So Yanis, over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Yanis from the ECCP, and today I'd like to present to you our new platform for green transition support. You can already go to the next slide, please. So my agenda is rather straightforward. I will provide you with a quick overview of what it's all about and who we see as the main users of this. And then I would like to show you some of its key features. And finally, I would like to invite you to join this network. Next slide, please. So what is it all about? As Sarianne and Mirabel from DG Environment just pointed out in their talk, the green transition towards climate neutrality, circular economy, sustainability is at the heart of the Green Deal and one of the key strategic goals of the European Union. But it's also clear that this provides tremendous tasks and challenges for European businesses. And the good thing here is that there's a vast network of regional actors in the field who helps businesses overcoming these challenges. And with green transition support, we would like to assist those who provide the support. So to say, we would like to help the middleman. Green transition support is a knowledge hub embedded in the ECCP website. It is prominently featured here on the top right of the website, and it provides information on key topics such as energy efficiency, resource efficiency, and emission reduction. And as I said, with this, we do not target at businesses directly as many other knowledge hubs, but rather the middlemen. So those who support this transition in the regions. That means cluster organizations, resource or energy efficiency support providers, economic development offices, and many other kinds of stakeholders. Next slide, please. So what can you find there? Here are some of its key features: good practices to inspire concrete action, tools to support the implementation, latest news and events, and as I said, also a network of like-minded partners. I will go into some of these features now. Next slide, please. In the good practice database, you can find more than 600 practical examples which show how this can be implemented actually in the field, how different green solutions can be successfully implemented all across Europe. The database provides you with various search and filter options. For example, you can search for a keyword or filter by sector or by environmental topic. And in each example, you can find then a description of the specific measures that have been applied and further useful information such as investment costs or payback time. If you don't look for something specific, you can also find more overarching information on how to tackle certain key areas of action. And here I would also like to emphasize that this is an open platform. So you are invited to submit your examples from your area to contribute to this knowledge sharing and also to promote what's going on in your region. Next slide, please. Then you can also find tools that provide guidance and methods for implementation. As a first pillar, we have developed an industrial symbiosis toolkit that provides you with a step-by-step guide and many practical methods and tools to implement the concept. Next slide, please. Moreover, you can find latest information on green topics, green news, upcoming green events, and open green calls. And this feature is mirrored in the general news of the ECCP, but specifically boiled down to relevant green topics. Here also, we would like to invite you to contribute and to submit your events, etc., to enrich this database. Next slide, please. So to conclude, I would like to emphasize that we see this knowledge hub as a starting point at the moment, and we would like to further expand this and feed it with more knowledge. We would, for this, like to reach out to other relevant green initiatives to create synergies. But in particular, we would like to invite you to join and engage in this network. If that's not the case already, as part of the ECCP community, you can find a vast network also of resource efficiency support providers with whom you can connect and exchange on these issues. And we would like you to share or invite you to share good practice examples, learning materials and tools, or relevant news and events, so that all actors in Europe who work in this field can benefit from this knowledge. So we would like to grow this knowledge hub further and in this way support the green transition in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yannis. I don't see any questions in the Q&A as yet, but if they come back to us with questions, I'm sure we will get our speakers back to respond to those. We're going to move to our panel discussion where we have a lineup of 4 great speakers for you. As always, I do encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A. Let's leave the chat for sharing content and for sharing links. If you want to join in by switching on your camera or your microphone, you can also do that. Just raise your hand. You will see the icon there at the bottom of your screen to raise hand, and we will get you involved in the conversation. Likewise, if you've questions for any of our presenters who have already presented this morning, please do put your questions for them in the Q&A and indicate who they are for. So I am delighted to have joining us, ladies and gentlemen, you can switch on your cameras now. We have Adam Plechowski, who is project manager at Autocluster. Rita Mora is the president of Cluster AEC. Fabrizio Garasti is the European project manager at the Lombardy Energy Clean Tech Cluster. And Ander Elragia Kunz is the strategy and innovation head at the Basque Environmental Agency. Thank you very much for joining me. Adam, let's start with you. Give us a brief overview, what you're working on, tell us how you're intersecting with the green transition.
Hi, my name is Adam Plechowski. I work for Autocluster since 2015. We are based in Czech Republic. From the name, we are, let's say, in automotive industry. We have 90 members right now. I would say very traditional industry from point of view of manufacturing. I'm plastic injection, stamping, aluminum casting. We do a lot with the manufacturing, so very traditional industry. So if we are talking about, let's say, twin transition, it's obvious that the automotive industry is well with the adoption of the digital part of the transition. With the green, it's, I would say, not that smooth, but we are on the way. Why are we here, and we are trying to help our members with those transition. With the, let's say the keyword is collaboration with the innovation actors in our region, as well in European scale, for example, with the Eurocluster calls. And yeah, maybe with some examples or practices, we really started to collaborate with the startups because they are agile, and let's say the automotive industry was not that agile. So I mean, the big corporates are not that smooth in adoption of the really new frameworks and policies, but the startup, yes. So we are trying to work together, startups and the traditional industry. They are trying to find new projects, and we are supporting those way right now.
Thank you, Adam. I think it's people take for granted that the automotive industry is doing well on the digital transition, but yes, a little bit maybe more catch up to do on the green transition. Fabrizio, let's hear from you. Tell us a bit more about clean tech and what you're working on.
Yes, good morning to all. First of all, thank you for the invitation, this interesting event. Yes, as I said, I'm Fabrizio Guarrati. I work for the Lombardy Energy Cleantech Cluster. We are a technological cluster based in Lombardy, Milan, so Italy. Cleantech sector in Lombardy, it's just to give you some data. We have just in Lombardy around 500 companies with a turnover of 23 billion of euros, if I remember well. And the employees here in the cleantech sector are 115,000. So we work with this, market, let's say. And from these numbers, so in 2009, borns our cluster. That what we do is we work in the field of course energy and environment, and we try to support the growth and the innovation of the production in Lombardy. So our cluster is composed by 150 members. In which, of course, most of all are companies, so large enterprises, SMEs, and startups. Also, for us, startups are very, important because I think as all clusters, we work in the connection between the world of research with the world of business. But plus, we really believe in the connection between the strong innovation the startup has with large enterprises. So large enterprises usually has the facilities, infrastructure, strong know-how, and we try to, allow startups to get in contact with large enterprises in order to apply, for example, for European project or new disruptive innovation. So in this main scenario, we work with 6 different thematic areas that are clean air, smart energy systems, so energy production and distribution, green building, sustainable manufacturing, water energy nexus, so sludge, water treatment, and so on. And the last one that is the cross-sectorial is the circular economy. Yes, and then after I will be happy to go deeper, just to give in a nutshell what we do.
Absolutely, and it's good to hear that you've got so many startups as well. There's a lot of exciting new developments when it comes to clean tech and what we can use our digital tools for. Let me turn, Rita, to you. Tell us a bit about your intersection with the topic and how you view it.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for the invitation. So actually, I work in a big construction company, but I'm also the president of the cluster architecture, engineer, and construction, where we have a lot of SMEs. So in this case, I'm talking about the SMEs. And in our case, it's different because it's easier that the big companies has these, initiatives regarding circularity and energy efficiency in construction. And the SMEs, they have more difficulties in, in adapting these new ways of working. So we are working in the twin transition. So we are trying to digitalize everything, as in the automobile sector. So we are trying to somehow reproduce what the automobile sector do. So, and by digitalization, we can integrate all the concept of circularity and also the energy efficiency. So we are trying to do more off-site the construction that will be more efficient and more also more sustainable. So we are trying to do that, but our difficulty is that we cannot put a building inside a factory. So we have a different kind of we have a different industry comparing to others. So we are, and this initiative is not only top down, because we have the framework from European Commission and then from the national programs, but it's also a bottom-up initiative, because the privates are pushing a lot, particularly in Portugal. Our clients are demanding for more sustainable products, so that's really interesting. And I think that we are doing well. And also in Portugal, we have something that, for instance, in terms of renewables, in terms of energy, we are really efficient like a country. So we are really using a lot of renewable energy. So our products are sustainable because of that. But in the other hand, we our materials, our raw materials, the word was missing, are not very expensive. So we use a lot of raw materials and we don't recycle so much. So that's our problem. So we are working on that. And regarding in architecture, the main issue is trying not to recycle the products, but to design the buildings in order to have components that can be used in their original form. For instance, like Lego. We work with Lego when we were a child. So we are trying to reproduce that in the construction. Okay, this concept, and it's that.
Thank you, Rita. I think I've certain family members who would be very keen to work with you if it's like Lego. Ander, I'm wondering, can you hear us there, Ander? We can see you now. Thank you very much. Tell us a bit about what is happening in the Basque country. What are you working on? Give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Yes. Okay, I'm Ander. I'm from the Basque Environmental Agency. We are working for 30 years on resource efficiency and circular economy. And the relevant issue is we work on the whole policy cycle, from planning to instruments to knowledge development to transfer to small and medium enterprises, and evaluating cost effectiveness of public policies. Okay, what do we do to foster resource efficiency and circular economy? The first thing that is extremely relevant for us is to bring EU circular challenges and regulatory drivers to companies, to life, because it's extremely complex to understand it. So when companies understand what are the challenges of future, they are able to begin to work. But it's so complex to understand it that most of them are taking wrong decisions. This is one point. And we show also on the other side the practical results of a lot of companies that are doing issues with our programs to convince them to continue this way. Always together with the clusters, because it's a value chain approach. So this we do always. More issues, yes. How do we support the thing is, we have two points we think that are extremely relevant. One are instruments, okay? We are government, so we do instruments, we design instruments and implement them. I am proud, and maybe it's quite specific. I want to talk about two instruments we have developed. One is green supply chain management with 18 big multinationals that are doing this. So they drive small and medium enterprises to circular economy and resource efficiency. And the other issue that is even more curious, the Basque County has full tax autonomy. So we have a clean tax list. We copy them to the Dutch people, to the Dutch government, with 30% of tax deductions. on clean technologies, energy efficiency, renewables, but that's also on circular economy mainly. So this make possible to have 20 million euros per year that we activate for small and medium enterprises by tax deductions of innovative clean technologies. We have also several support programs on innovation for companies, for small and medium enterprises. Very small projects of 1 year, 30,000 euros, but extremely fast and flexible and close to ours. And the other support program we also push are a circular SME program with clusters together. So the collective projects with small and medium enterprises with 10 different clusters at this moment working, about 30 projects at this moment. And in each project, there are 5 to 10 small and medium enterprises with a common challenge to be solved. So we are doing this kind of programs. I don't know if you want, I tell you more. But,
I think we'll come back to it.
Okay.
I have some questions a little bit about practices. But Adam, let me ask you, what are the best practices to save energy and resources in your business? And I'm thinking as well that we assume sometimes that digitalization is the most resource efficient, but of course it can also have high energy use as well. So how do you actually strike the balance?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, this is actually kind of in automotive industry. Usually the companies, if we are talking about the adoption of green practices, it's about the water and energy and waste reduction. But in case, let's say it's also combined of the digital adoption of new technology which could save the energy. I mean, in case of, for example, this year, we can say it's a year of AI, definitely. And with the collaboration with our, let's say, the state government organization, which called the Technology Incubation. They are, let's say, incubate startups. And we have, for example, identified 10 companies which are helping with the optimization of the production, which is really automotive industry is about the production of cars and production of car components. And with this, we are, let's say, presenting those startups to our industry. And we have really great examples that, for example, one company, they've been working with the startups. They have completely go through their production process. And with the adoption of their, let's say, algorithms and AI, they have been able to save up to 20% of their time on the production line. So this is really, they could really write that we have saved a lot of energy and a lot of CO2 and the other stuff. And of course, this is not only this example. We have many other examples. For example, with our innovation center, we call it as environmental scans. We don't call as audits because the company don't like to hear about audits. So we call just scans, and we go there with the experts. And after 1 day, we are giving them example about how they can improve their, let's say, simply with a very simple project for water, energy, and the waste reduction. And of course, the let's say advantage of using, for example, recycled materials and other stuff like that. I mean,
no, it's a good point, and I will come on to. I think I'm going to ask our other panelists in a moment as well about the importance of being able to prove and trace your efficiency. So we won't call them audits; we'll call them scans for that part of the conversation. I see, Rita, a question I think specifically for you, asking, what criteria must a building meet in order to be considered more sustainable?
First of all, the criteria is that the new design of a building, the new buildings must be designed to be deconstruct at the end. So this is, in my opinion, the most important criteria. So as I told you before, this building must be designed in order to all the components can be reused in the next building. 50 years from now on, for instance. Okay, so this is the main criteria, because we use a lot of material. We are very intensive in the using of materials. And on the other hand, these materials must be more sustainable itself. So they must be done with, for instance, biomaterials. We have to use it more and more. For instance, wood is really interesting, and we use it a lot in the past, and we have to use it. So this is like a reinvention from the past, that we have to adapt and use more and more wood and other biomaterials. And also, of course, energy. We have to build in a way that the buildings are more efficient in terms of energy. So, and this is really easy to do. With a good architecture, we can provide natural ventilation in order to reduce to zero the energy needs for comfort. So this is a very fast answer, but I hope that I answer. Okay.
Yes, thank you. It's also I'm hearing about the full life cycle of the building, rather than just once and done. Fabrizio, what sort of best practices to save energy and resources are you seeing with the businesses you work with, and are there particular differences depending on whether they're a larger business or an SME, or whether they're a late stage business or a startup? Are there any differences there, or are there best practices that work across the board?
Thank you, Jennifer, for the question. Well, it's not a matter of just one activity that we usually do, but it's something that kind of a pool of different action that we address for the energy efficiency in general. Just to give you some examples, as policy, internal policy, what we usually do is we started a kind of internal working groups on a specific topic to address. For example, we have one on energy communities, another one on energy efficiency, and what we do over there, it's we address municipalities, companies, startups, research, and we as facilitator, and in order to allow them to share their experiences and learn from each other's. This is something that really help companies or SMEs or startup or whatever, in order to learn from the others. This is first activity that we usually do. Second one is on the specific on subsidies. We had a strong partnership with the main industrial association in Italy, that is Confindustria. Thanks to them, we are sure that we send and we communicate every day subsidies at national or regional level for specific companies, in order to allow them to be more efficient at energy level. Third one, in practical, because I was looking at the comment where you was talking, someone raised the point of digital tools. We use it in our past European project, that is Arasis, or was a European project on how to boost energy cooperation and energy efficiency between companies. We developed these 3 tools for energy purpose, let's say. One of that tool was the self-assessment tool, that we really used it with within our members, and this has been the first touch point in order to allow companies to be more aware on what they was using as energy, and how they can improve their situation, and especially in a territory as Italian territory that is crowded of SMEs. We have plenty of SMEs that they don't have enough resource, for example, to have an energy manager internally. So this tool has been very useful in order to allow them to really start to understand what was their situation, and then get back to us in order to, you know, to allow us to be more practical in their situation and use funds inside, include them in the working groups. So it's you know, different activities that we do in order to help companies to be more sustainable.
Ander, the same question to you from your perspective. Do you see particular differences for companies depending on their size or even particularly their sector? Is there anything that works for all, or are there particular areas where you think this particular sector has more low-hanging fruit, or the smaller businesses, as Fabrizio say, can benefit more from support?
Yes, absolutely. First, the size of companies is absolutely different. We think the huge companies, the multinationals, have a relevant function or role, and the role is just green supply chain management. But in the crisis of 2008, 2010, what we began to do is to convince huge companies to integrate the life cycle thinking in the policies or in the strategies. We needed 10 years to have it done. Now they have done it, and now it works, that they are asking suppliers for it. And this is the best way to activate small and medium enterprises. You have to have anybody who asks for it. And European regulations are not so fast. So sometimes it's better the customer is asking for it. So it's the way. And if we go to, you have to, as small and medium enterprise, you have to have a need. And usually they don't need, they don't see it until it's very short, in a short way. So sometimes you have 2, 3, 4 years you have to work before, and nobody's doing anything. And when it comes, you have 1 month to have an answer. It's too late. So what we are trying is to activate them, that they are seeing what is coming to begin to work. For medium enterprises, it's not so difficult. It's a good way. We have a lot of success. But for small and micro SMEs, it's extremely hard to convince them. So we have programs, yes, but we are efficient on small and medium enterprises because they have a strategic view, but not sufficient on small and micro SMEs. It depends on the sectors, yes. Extremely hard is construction sectors, sure, and quite easy to convince is automotive, machine industry, and electric components. It's for ours much easier to convince them because they are in very hard value chain that with big multinationals driving companies. Yes.
Thank you. Adam, I want to bring together a point that Ander raised and that Rita at the other end raised. So Rita was pointing out sort of, if you like, end of life, full life cycle of sustainable buildings. And I know Ander raised at the beginning the point of supply chain management. How important is it to think about the full life cycle of a component, of a resource? So from the very beginning of supply chain to possibly post-use or recycling, or the, you know, I'm bringing in elements of the circular economy here, that it's not just ending up in landfill.
Yes.
Okay.
If we talk about supply chain, maybe to brief introduction, the car makers are on top. They are, let's say, absorbing of all those components which are going in. Then it's actually, in case of supporting, it's not our field. They are another universe. In our case, okay, to tier 1 suppliers, which are supplying to OEMs, this is also not our universe. I mean, we are, our universe is tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers, which are SMEs. And in that case, they are really, we are driven by their needs. And as a cluster, we are really trying to help them, as you said, in a life cycle. If they are driven by the customer, the value chain in automotive industry was very, very traditional for past 100 years, but I would say last 10 years it's really changed. We are adopting a lot of, let's say, framework policies. I mean, the change in the world where the cars are made. Obviously, China this year 25 million of cars, and then Europe and US, it's not together on that number. And in case of life cycle, as this was the question, we can see, for example, in the recycled materials of the plastic. Let's say the raw plastic materials was really on demand by the OEMs for many years. But right now, the recycled materials are, let's say, very demanded. And for small and medium enterprises, it was really hard to know how this recycled material will work with the raw material. And this is, for example, really hard right now for companies. And we are trying to help them with those issues. And yeah, I know maybe it's not the answer for your question, but in case of plastic, okay, in car it contains a lot of plastic parts, and recycled plastic it's a really big issue right now. And yeah, for us it's a big topic.
Ander, to come back to you, the same question, and outside of the automotive industry, how important as well is this supply chain and the end of life element of that as well?
Yeah, I want to put a practical example. We are just supporting a very nice project, one of the 30 we are supporting now, and it's following. I put the questions. Do you know that 15% of all white good scraps are cookers, cooking cookers, okay? Do you know that 95% of the hobs, the induction hobs and the ceramic hobs of the cookers, when it's always scrap, are still working? And do you know that in Basque Country we manufacture 60% of worldwide induction ceramic hobs? What are doing our companies now? They're taking the scrapped cookers and putting again in real production. So, you know, cookers at the hubs have a lot of copper and strategic materials and critical materials. And now they have not to buy them, but because they put the all scrapped cookers, hubs again in the cookers. So they are taking really from waste that material and putting in new production, and not on a small scale, but on hundred thousands of components. And this is the way to do things. And it's a small project. We only pay 30,000 euros for this project, and it's going on. Okay, and this kind of issues are extremely relevant. And they integrate also now the product passport, because they are really interested in the digital product passport for these components, because in this other way it's more work than before. So this kind of work is really a kind of small revolution, green revolution in factories.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, the product passport, we do see different initiatives at EU level that are supposed to drive this, but it's good to hear that it's actually working in practice on the ground. I'm thinking even things like the WEEE directive, the Waste and Electronic Waste Directive. Fabrizio, a question to you about the motivation behind going green. Obviously, we want a more sustainable planet to live in. We want to breathe fresh air. We like efficiencies, because the efficiencies are actually great for making a business case. So that's what I want you to look at, especially for startups. How important is to make economic sense the driver behind resource and energy efficiency?
Well, Jennifer, I mean, our cluster is, speaking about energy, we are quite transversal, let's say. So there are different, projects ongoing with different fields, such as the large hydrogen energy communities, batteries. So we spoke about circular economy on batteries. So we really, believe and work with, the lithium, there is recycling of lithium inside our cluster. So motivation is, speaking about, let's say, not politically, but, of course, we tend to, reach the European rules and guidelines on to be, on to how to achieve the energy transition and be green as much as possible. And speaking about, startups, personal motivation, it's, there is, a kind of lack of not trust, but some obstacles that startups especially has to overcome. And, especially in Italy, the startup ecosystem is not so, I mean, it's good, but not as well developed as other, European countries. So what we do is to, really help them with also funding, and but more in particular to allow them to apply their technologies and innovation in a real environment. And how we do that, we have inside our member some bank institutions, some VC, and also with the European project, we guarantee them to really, get in contact, as I already said, with other enterprises, large enterprises, and use the European fund in order to, scale up their technology, and then in the future allow them to grow in a good way.
Rita, feel free to comment on anything that you've heard the other panelists saying so far, but I'm also interested to know from you how you exchange with other businesses on these topics, and what sort of conversations are you having, what sort of support and network are you fostering?
For instance, we talk a lot with the cluster of natural resources, of course, because we need a lot of them, and we have to change our way of building. But also, for instance, textile. We talk with textiles because we can integrate textiles in construction. So construction is, as I said before, is an intensive consumer of natural resources. So we need to talk with all the other industries in order to integrate materials from their sides. But in my opinion, the most important and the most relevant is not that, for instance, we have a lot of construction that we have to demolish and use it in other constructions. So we have to recycle those constructions that we have nowadays, and we have to demolish and then build other things. But as I said before, in my opinion, the most relevant is the construction that we design today. We have to design them in order to be more, in order to use the components, all the components in their form, the natural form, in other constructions. But of course, we have to talk a lot with other sectors. And also we have to change the way that we build, for instance, in buildings. We have to change in order to have as a service. For instance, we don't need lamps, we need a light service. So we have to change that. We need to put like layers in the buildings, and we have to have a service of light in our buildings. So those suppliers that supply that service will be responsible for all the circular maintenance of that components and for changing them in the future. And we can talk about light, but we also can talk about water supplying. We can talk about everything. So it's this, we have to change the way we build and the way we talk with our suppliers, and we have to change for another kind of, we don't supply a product, but we will supply a product plus a service. So this is the main concept, I think.
And as a follow-up to that, Adam mentioned earlier about having, well, not audits, but audits, and how important it is to be able to certify or prove or show a trail of your energy and green efforts. Rita.
Oh, it's
Sorry.
for me.
It's for you. But it's for you because
sorry.
I'm sure it's relevant in because
Okay.
you're talking about all the different suppliers, and I'm guessing it's probably a little bit trickier to give this sort of proof if you've got so many different organizations or different businesses working on a building.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we need digital models, building information modeling. It's something that we are developing a lot in construction is now, and we can integrate all the components in those models. And someone talks about artificial intelligence, machine learning. So we need those kind of tools in order to integrate and to have all the building is integrated in a digital model that we can predict what happen if we change this or that, or and the impacts that changing has in all the life cycle, as you said. So we have to integrate those supplies and those components in a digital model. So that and we also need to put sensors in order to have digital twins from the built environment. That's really important, and we are doing that not only during the construction, but also during the maintenance to support the facility management activities. So we need that concept more and more.
Thank you. Adam, I'm interested to know from your side as well. We touched on it earlier about the importance of digital models. How big a deal is that for you?
You mean the digital model of the whole plants and factories and lines? Yeah, this is very important, because when you have it, usually the large companies, they have it really, really easily. In case of small and medium enterprises, it's not that obvious that they are not using them so much, but it's all about data, and if you have it, if you have digital twins of your factory, you could easily adapt let's say new enablers we call it Industry 4.0, now 5.0. And if you have a really digital twins, you could work better, and you could try something which is not on the line, and you can try it before you apply it on the line. So this is something which is really, really important for companies in automotive industry.
Just a reminder to our audience, you can ask the questions in that Q&A function. I noticed not too many questions coming in, more just agreement in the chat with everything our panelists are saying. So it's nice to hear that we're not confusing people, and it's actually everyone is kind of very much on the same page. But do put your questions in the Q&A if you have some. Ander, a question to you about this sort of, if you like, proof of concept that we need, or rather proof of outcome that we need to see from businesses. How easy is that? How tricky is that to follow an audit trail, as it were, to prove that you've been making the green and resource efficient efforts?
For me, for Ander? Yes, okay. Yes, I think it's extremely relevant at first to see close cases. It's not enough to see in Germany or in Italy a lot of companies that have done things. You have to see the cases close to you, regionally close, and to talk with the people who have done the things. This is on the micro level, but you have also a high level to see what is really going on and how it's contributing really what you are doing to the policy objectives of your region, your country, everything. So this is not so easy. Very few people is looking at the cost effectiveness of the actions clusters or governments are doing. So for ours, it's also quite critical. We are trying to measure, and if we measure right, we get more resources of government, more money and more people. So it's extremely relevant to measure if what we are doing, support programs are really efficient to support SMEs and companies. This is on the macro level, and on the micro, it's extremely relevant to show results. Now I'm just in 10 minutes, I go in a workshop of results, of innovative results with 100 companies, and it's extremely relevant that I can talk one to the other in the coffee, with a lot of coffees, to really explain what they're doing, and if it's working or not. It's extremely relevant. It's a lot of work, but it's relevant, yes.
I don't see any other questions coming in, so I think we'll do a final round wrap up from each of you, just to get your recommendations for other businesses and also recommendations in particular to get SMEs involved, and perhaps we'll take coffee as one of those recommendations, and we'll let Adam, you can go first, Adam, with your final thoughts, final recommendations in particular for SMEs.
I think the final will be, the keywords for cluster is to collaborate. I mean, if you have in your ecosystem the innovation actors, universities, great. I mean, big companies are good for gathering challenges, and those challenges could be done by small and medium enterprises as well as startups. So I mean, yeah, the key for us is to collaborate with the innovation centers, with startups, with let's say with the all innovative ecosystem in our region, also in Europe. Collaborate with the partners from other countries. For us, it's really essentials and giving us a lot of let's say good inputs how we can do it. I mean, to see how it works somewhere else, it's all the times better than to see or read in the internet or somewhere else.
Yes, hands-on, seeing it yourself. Fabrizio, recommendations in particular for SMEs from you?
Yes, Adam, it's it's a good point. We really believe in the power of exchange with others. I mean, we as cluster, we do it internally because our activity is to build the network and allow that the network will have a good exchange between itself, let's say. So externally speaking, we really believe to do the same at external level, so exchange with other clusters in order to learn from what they are doing, which are the obstacles, which kind of innovation or challenges they have to address, and this is why we have a kind of interregional angle inside our cluster. So the interregional activities are important and a key part of our activities. This is also again with European projects such as the I3 Interregional Innovation Investment that allow us to really bring a project inside and also allow our companies to be part of. And other part are for the interregional collaboration are at top down. So from regional authorities come some particular need at regional level. For example, such as Vanguard Initiative, we are co-leading to pilot inside Vanguard Initiative, specifically on how to boost interregional collaboration. So the key exchange and share best practice. This is the reason why it would be nice also to interact with people here in order to understand if there are some requests or question or just simply to know what is going on in their country, because okay, we are European, but each country has specific needs and obstacle to overcome. So it's really nice to I don't know. It's we are trying to work with hydrogen. Maybe there is one country that it's very keen on hydrogen, and we can learn from that, from their perspective. Lombardy, we are quite keen on textile, so we can it's matter of collaboration and share know-how between all of us.
Thank you. And Rita, your advice or your recommendations?
So to the SMEs, okay? So for SMEs, we must do this twin transition together, changing from linear business models into circular business models, all through the value chain. So we have to do that together. Big companies, small companies, universities, all together. As the African proverbs tell us, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's my that's what I say to the SMEs.
Thank you. And Ander, a final word from you.
Yes, one sentence. Public-private collaboration, extremely relevant. It's about new regulations, new instruments. If we don't work together, it's impossible to go ahead. So public governance and public sector is extremely relevant to foster private circular transition. It's quite impossible to do it without a close dialogue with the public sector. Please be open, because public sector is usually extremely close to companies in tenders that it goes forward. Extremely relevant. Public-private collaboration, please.
Well, I have to say it's rare that everyone on the panel's recommendations are so aligned, so close to each other, all about networks, all about indeed the real ethos of clusters. I also notice in the chat that Sarianne has mentioned to everyone that the EU taxonomy for sustainable activities is also a cornerstone of the EU sustainable finance framework and an important market transparency tool. So there's a link there if you want to find out a little bit more about that taxonomy in the chat. Thank you all so much for your input and the interesting discussion, and lots of ideas. And I saw in the chat that people were tending very much to agree with our speakers today. So thank you all for that as well. We're going to go now to looking ahead. Nina, the funding opportunities, as always, give us the lowdown.
Many things, and also thank you very much to all the panelists and the great input that you've given us today and this morning. There are a couple of quotes that are relevant to the topic of the day. For example, we have Horizon Research and Innovation Action, breakthroughs to implement process industry resource efficiency, the so-called Processes for Planet Partnership. And here projects should achieve a step change in the process industry's green transition by improving by at least 30% the industrial processes resource efficiency. It should also enable the techno-economic feasibility of novel technologies and processes, support in the positive environmental health and safety impact. The solutions demonstrate reduce the CO2 intensity, and of course contribute to the competitiveness and resilience of the European process industry. This call has a deadline of the 7th of February next year. You see the topic ID in the screen and the link in the chat. And there's a call, Innovate to Transform, that's support for SME sustainability transition. And here projects should contribute to an increased resilience of SMEs, for example, by fostering technological and social innovation in SMEs, and support the transition to more sustainable business models and more resource efficient and circular processes and infrastructures. Something very much aligned with what our speakers have also told us today. Look into increased competitive sustainability of SME through the uptake of advanced technologies, and to help create a strong innovation support ecosystems. Same deadline, this time it's a Horizon Coordination and Support Action with the topic ID in the screen and link in the chat. Another call, the Made in Europe Partnership for Technologies and Solutions to Support Circularity for Manufacturing. Here, the project should contribute to assessing the environmental impact of the manufacturing industry's products, achieve a considerable net reduction of the environmental impact, facilitate the development and uptake of digital tools and platforms, for example, the digital product passport that was also mentioned today, and remove barriers in the uptake of digital tools. Same deadline, Horizon Research and Innovation Action, with the topic ID here that you can see, and click in the link in the chat to find out more. And last but not least, a reminder for concrete calls for SMEs that are provided by the Euroclusters. As you know, the Euroclusters are a consortium of clusters and other stakeholders to provide service for SMEs, for example, for the green and digital transition. There are a lot of opportunities for SMEs from different sectors to look into solutions, green solutions, and resource efficiency. You can find all the calls on the cluster collaboration platform. Look into the different deadlines. There are calls for training, for innovation, for adoption of processes and technologies, as well as for internationalization. And there are always coming new ones with the Euroclusters moving forward in their projects. So have a look at that, and back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much, Nina. Lots to still look at towards the end of the year, but we were looking ahead next week. I believe you'll have Chris hosting the Strategic Technologies for Europe platform, or STEP, and I'll be back again in 2 weeks on the 13th of December to talk about the recap on key policies and takeaways from the year. That's our last event of this year, but we are back on the 10th of January 2024. So please, as Nina asked at the very beginning, do send in your ideas for topics for discussion for next year. And remember, keep sharing your thoughts with the wider community using the hashtag EU Clusters Talks. You can also find out more by visiting the clustercollaboration.eu platform website. You will find also on LinkedIn and on X or Twitter, as some people are still calling it, you can follow clusters_EU or use the hashtag ECCP to find out more. Thank you all for joining us again today, and I wish you all a wonderful Wednesday.